Back in the mower garage, and we are having a look at little Johnny. Little Johnny has worked absolutely flawless since the day we built it, but there are some things that have developed some pretty bad play and or just worn out pretty damn bad, and number one being these spindles. Now, I welded the top of these caps on just because that's all we had at the time, and I didn't really care about these ones, and they are just shot, ready to be replaced. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at some new spindles and or using some old ones. Let's do it. Little Johnny is such a great rig, and I love getting anyone who wants to try out mowing on this rig because it just works really good, and it's a simple build that anyone can essentially drive. But with that being said, things get worn out. So along with these spindles, the steering is a bit worn out. So up in here we have the pivoting arm, and that bushing in there is just gone. So we're going to replace that as well over here. Now the other thing that's worn out is the actual steering box. Steering box is somewhere up in there. It's also worn out, but we're not going to be able to be replacing that because I don't have another one. But I'll be looking for one in the future. If you have a steering box for a JD60, let me know and get it over to me. Time when you're working on a mower, things wear out because they're just not built like your $20,000 side-by-sides or quads. These are homemade machines that you build by yourself. Now, if we look at Musty here, this thing has been working unreal, and when I take my time and fabricate parts that work, you don't have to be replacing things very often. So Musty rarely gets things upgraded on it at this point because it works so damn good. But Little Johnny was a quick 1 month build, so we are learning on this one and we are ready to get some more things built. Alright, so I'm trying to keep this a 1 day little build upgrade, so I'm using Scrappy Coco's old spindles. So they're already built, they're not the greatest. I'm going to do a little bit more gusseting on them and then we're going to try them out, but they are a lot better than what Little Johnny has now. And if you're into off-road mowing, you're not into that. So anytime this develops, you have to get rid of it. I just haven't had the time, and this Sunday afternoon is that time to fix it. So both sides are like that. It's bad. You can also see my fuel's leaking. I got to get in there and do a carb clean. Just neglect, right? It's hard to see, but this hole there, you can see it. That's just too much play in there too, and I own a lathe and can make bushings, so I can get in there and make a new one is what I'm saying. But any kind of things like this, you really need to be on the game, on the ball, because all these things add up to a lot more play. Honestly, taking some time Sunday afternoon here to go over the rig and see what has developed to play, what the weak spots are over all these test drives that we've done on it, and honestly, I beat on this thing a lot harder than everyone else combined, so I really understand what kind of the weak points are. So make sure you're checking out your mower all the time because things will develop play and they'll break, and if it's on the trail, it always sucks. So anyways, let's get into getting these spindles off and maybe that steering bushing pivot arm, and we'll go from there. Alright, and with that, we have cut off a bunch of crap. Now, I remembered once I cut off the spindles here, that the spindles are totally fine, but the spindle bushings that were welded onto the end of the axle were garbage. So I cut those off. These spindles I'm probably just going to toss because I've cut the tops off them and don't think I'll use them for anything. And then I'll try and make these old ones into new ones that will work on this axle. But with that, I have to lathe out some new spindle bushings that I can weld onto the end here. So I got some 3/4 inch ID DOM tubing. It's seamless and that will work great to fit around the spindle and then be welded onto there, and it should just be a better system. So I'm gonna start cutting things up, getting some things laid out, and then we'll get this all welded up, and that's one step closer to what we need to be. Just crack a beer?
Maybe.
Not bad, not bad, not bad.
Is that Chester?
Better one, boys.
Not bad. Oh, it's pretty good. Not bad.
But anyways, you might not have noticed, but we went back to the original spindles because the new ones that were old were thrown out for a reason, and Riley kept them for what reason, boys? Just because he likes keeping stuff.
Keep metal.
Yeah, just because why not, right? They were bent. Dang it. So anyways, we're back to the original ones. We actually gusted these ones up and they look a lot better now. They're not bent, but they are a bit stubby, and we are going with, again, we're welding the top caps on. So they're garbage after I cut them off this time. But we're making them work to get little Johnny a lot tighter. The new bushings, spindle bushings are welded on now, so that's a lot better. The prime TIG welder, again, working great. That being my best pass, probably. Always learning, but always stoked to pull it out. But anyways, we're making good progress here, and I'm excited to have a lot tighter of spindle play. Yeah. But anyways, there is that other part that we need to fix as well, the bushing for the actual pivot of the two tie rods, but that's going to be another day, so we'll get this done and we'll continue to show you what we're doing. Well, this one-day project is now a 2-day project. Let's not make it a 3-day project. That's all I'm saying. Get back into it. Yesterday we got the front axle back installed so that we could see if the tie rods all were good, and we had to shorten the one to get it to line up. Anyways, I'm going to pull this axle back out once I get my steering stops tack welded in there, and we'll go from there. But a couple things that we did do is weld the top of the spindles back together. So this is just a cap that I lathed for the top there that I could just weld straight to the spindle. So these things can't fall out now, but you can't replace them if you need to. You have to cut them out. But anyways, threw a grease nipple on the front so that we can grease these things, because obviously we can't really get grease in there anymore or pull them out to clean them. So it is what it is, but little Johnny, it will work fine until I build a whole new front axle. But this one will work good for now. Anyways, same thing happened on this side, but now we got to get the steering stops in. So I got these two guys cut out. I'm just going to lay them nice and flat, and then I'll get those welded on. So yeah, a lot of things coming together, but let's get back at this. Day 2. As you guys can see there, I got the steering stops tack welded in so I can fully weld them with the axle out. To put some more emphasis on this, these are seriously super important to your steering system, because without the steering stops, your tire is able to oversteer, and well, it bends, breaks, and damages a lot of things out on the trail, and you're never expecting it to happen, and then it does, and then there's your riding day gone. So anyways, both sides tack welded in, fully weld them, and to do this, all I did was turn my steering wheel as far as I wanted them to go, which is about there, which is plenty of steering angle. Tack welded one in place, then turned them the other way, tack weld the other in, and then you can fully weld them at that point. Sometimes they're not as simple as just this. This is very simple, just a 1/2-inch rod going down off the front axle, but on Musty, I've integrated them into the actual knuckles. So as you can see here, there's a little block here that is welded to my front axle, and then the inner knuckle here hits the steering stop there. So And I run steering stops front and back of the axle so that when both tires see the steering stops. So that's a difference between the little Johnny is it doesn't have steering stops both ways for steering. So the tire is not able to go the opposite way, if that makes sense. So when this tire is fully steered that way, this one is also being stopped too by hitting the front, and this one's hitting the back. So that's just something to think about. If you want to learn more about this front axle, it's going to be in a future video, but you can go see exactly how I built it in some older videos, and then I've revamped it to work with these steering stops. But anyways, let's get back to little Johnny. Right, so just like that, we're back at it. It's actually a couple weeks later, and I have time to work on little Johnny again. So what are we going to do? We are going to fix that sloppy center pivot area that we were talking about in the steering system. So we'll get that right out, and I'll show you guys exactly which bushing's worn out and how we're going to fix that. All right, so the front axle is out, and we had to do a little bit of chopping. So we made a big slit right in the meat of the spindle here because it was pretty bent from previous rides, and I didn't notice that when we were putting it all together. So anyways, a quick little cut, and then we're gonna actually use the new Prime welder. So Prime Weld sent out the 285 MIG welder here, and let me just say this thing's too nice, like too nice. We also got the Cut 60 plasma cutter and the TIG welder, as you guys all know, in the background. But we got a water cooler now and a new CK20 torch. So I'm really excited to have this machinery tools in the shop, and well, first thing we're gonna do is weld up this front spindle. But anyways, I'm gonna get this front axle welded up, and then we can get under the mower and get that steering bushing out. Let's do it. Alright, so as you guys can see, the steering shaft is off. Obviously these go out to each tire, and then from the steering gearbox it goes up to this spot right here, and we'll go back and forth and we'll steer each tire. Now, the spot that's worn out is this guy right in here. So it doesn't look like a lot, but there's a lot of play in there. So what it looks like, I'm seeing, so if we can see right up in here, it looks like there's a split line here. I'm pretty sure that this inner race is just a bushing. So I'm going to try and replace that. I'll see if I can press it out, and we'll find out shortly. So, good news. I'm on the lathe. But I noticed that the little bushing inside was actually the piece that was worn out and not the bushing that it sits in. So, hopped on the lathe, got this guy that I'm making up, and this is going to replace that little bushing, and we're going to be good to go. So super simple, but again, just another reason to own a lathe. So there we go. Old one and the new one. The new one is a perfect fit. Had to take the OD down just a hair, but that fits in there perfect. It's just a hair bigger than the actual bushing, so that when it gets clamped down, it will spin on the inner side there, and I can put my grease nipple back in to the side here. So, greasable, we're good to go. We'll get that all put back together. There's the grease nipple. So anyways, I just want to stress that there's so many different places where play can develop in your lawnmower, and it really is good to take some time to go over this kind of stuff and make sure that your lawnmower is ready to go for the next ride. But anyways, I just wanted to say again, make sure you're checking all your different areas: spindles, tie rod ends, steering boxes, gear mesh, all that kind of stuff. There's so many different places that it can happen. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little build video on Johnny, just trying to get a few things upgraded and fixed. I'm going to spend the next hour here putting everything back together with some fresh grease, and yeah, get out for a test drive, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching again. Appreciate everyone who follows along to the lawnmower stuff and is participating in this kind of adventure. Anyways, see you guys later. Peace.